When you look deeply into your own life, you will see that every moment of suffering has carried a quiet message within it. The Buddha taught that suffering is not a punishment nor a sign of weakness, but a gentle reminder that something within us is asking to be understood. We suffer because we cling, we resist, we expect life to unfold according to our will. But life moves as it must, like the wind across the mountains or the waves upon the shore. When we learn to flow with this movement instead of fighting against it, suffering begins to soften, like ice melting into water, in the stillness of your heart. You may notice that suffering is often the doorway to transformation. Without discomfort, we would never question our habits, our desires, or the illusions we tightly hold. Without challenge, we would never grow beyond who we used to be. The Buddha saw suffering not as an enemy, but as a teacher, a patient teacher who returns again and again, showing us where we are still attached, where fear still governs our actions, where we are not yet free. When pain arises in your life, pause and breathe gently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" This shift alone can turn despair into clarity, frustration into understanding, and sadness into compassion. Suffering becomes lighter not because it disappears, but because you learn to hold it differently, with more wisdom and less fear. A peaceful mind is not a mind without pain. It is a mind that embraces each experience with openness and curiosity. The Buddha reminded us that every feeling, even the most painful one, is impermanent. Like clouds drifting across the sky, like rain falling and then fading into the earth, suffering will pass. When you remember this, you stop drowning in the intensity of the moment. You begin to see the larger rhythm of life, the constant rising and falling of all things. You begin to trust that no matter how dark a moment feels, light will return. Just as the sun rises after the longest night, the path to peace begins with acceptance. Not the acceptance of defeat, but the acceptance of reality. When you accept what is happening, your heart becomes spacious. You no longer waste energy resisting the unavoidable. Instead, you direct that energy toward understanding, toward healing, toward compassion. And it is compassion toward yourself and others that becomes the foundation of your strength. With compassion, suffering transforms into wisdom, and wisdom becomes the light that guides you forward. Even when others cause you pain, intentionally or unintentionally, the Buddha taught that your inner peace does not depend on their actions. What matters is how you respond. If you hold anger, the flame burns you first. If you hold resentment, your heart becomes heavy and tired. But if you choose understanding, if you choose patience, if you choose to let go, then suffering loses its power over you. You remain free. You remain radiant. You remain rooted in the purity of your own mind. Every moment of suffering invites you to return to yourself, to return to your breath, to return to the present moment, where peace is always waiting. You may not be able to control what life brings, but you can always choose the energy you give back to the world. When you choose kindness, your suffering becomes a bridge to deeper humanity. When you choose gratitude, your pain becomes a reminder of the beauty still around you. When you choose awareness, your challenges become stepping stones toward freedom. Do not underestimate the quiet strength within you. Just as a lotus rises from the mud, you too can rise from every difficulty. The mud does not harm the lotus, it nourishes it. In the same way, the challenges you face can nourish your growth. They can deepen your understanding, expand your compassion, and strengthen your resilience. When you stop running from suffering, you begin to discover who you truly are beneath every fear and illusion. Take each breath with gentle awareness. Let suffering be a visitor, not a master. Welcome it, listen to what it reveals, and then let it go. In this way, your heart becomes both tender and strong. Your mind becomes clear, like a calm lake reflecting the sky. Your spirit becomes steady, unshaken by storms. And with each step forward, you radiate a peaceful energy that touches everyone around you. To in this understanding, suffering becomes not an obstacle, but a guide. Not a weight, but a teacher. Not an enemy, but a doorway to awakening. When you see suffering clearly, you see your own capacity for transformation. You see that within every pain rests a seed of wisdom, waiting for your attention. And when you nurture that seed with compassion, patience, and awareness, it grows into freedom. This is the path the Buddha revealed: to meet suffering with clarity, to embrace it with understanding, and to transform it into the light that guides your journey. When suffering appears in your life, it often arrives uninvited. It disrupts your plans, shakes your certainty, and brings emotions you try so hard to avoid. But the Buddha taught that suffering itself is not the cause of your greatest pain. The deeper pain arises from how tightly you cling to the idea that life should always be comfortable, predictable, and gentle. When life changes, and it must, you feel lost. But suffering becomes lighter the moment you stop fighting the nature of reality. The truth is simple. Everything in life is changing. Every joy, every sadness, every challenge, every victory, all of it shifts like the wind. When you understand this deeply, suffering becomes less frightening. You begin to see that difficult moments are not permanent walls, but passing waves. They rise, they crest, they fall, and they disappear. And just like waves, every moment of suffering reshapes the shore within you, carving space for wisdom, resilience, and compassion to grow. The Buddha taught that when you are suffering, your first task is not to escape, but to observe. Observe the breath. Observe the body. Observe the mind. Watch how thoughts arise and dissolve, how emotions appear and fade like clouds drifting across the sky. You begin to see that suffering is not a solid thing. It is a temporary visitor. And when you treat it as a visitor instead of a ruler, your heart regains its freedom. This freedom grows even stronger when you learn not to take suffering personally. Many times, pain arises not because you did something wrong, but because it is simply part of being human. Everyone who has ever lived has felt sorrow, fear, frustration, and confusion. Even those who seem strong have cried in silence. Even those who appear wise have stumbled on their path. When you remember that suffering is a universal experience, you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a traveler walking the same road as every other human being. And yet, within this shared experience, your personal growth is unique. Each sorrow reveals something different about you. Perhaps it shows you a fear you have avoided facing. Perhaps it reveals an attachment you are ready to release. Perhaps it teaches you patience, humility, or understanding. Suffering is not random. It often arises exactly where your next lesson waits. When someone hurts you, your first reaction may be anger, disappointment, or sadness. These feelings are natural, but the Buddha teaches that how you respond is what shapes your future. If you respond with anger, you plant the seeds of more anger. If you respond with hatred, you deepen your suffering. But if you respond with awareness, with understanding, even with compassion, you break the cycle. You transform the energy instead of allowing it to control you. This transformation does not mean you must accept harmful behavior. Instead, it means you choose not to carry the poison of others inside your own heart. You protect your peace without adding more suffering to the world. You learn to step back, breathe deeply, and remind yourself, this pain does not define me. My response defines me. There will be moments when suffering feels overwhelming, when you wonder if you are strong enough to endure. In these moments, remember the wisdom of the Buddha. Strength does not come from avoiding pain, but from understanding it. A tree that grows in calm weather may look beautiful, but a tree that survives storms has deeper roots. Your suffering is not meant to break you. It is meant to root you more deeply in your own wisdom. Sit with your suffering the way you would sit with a frightened child, with patience, with gentleness, with compassion. Let it speak. Let it show you where you hurt. Let it uncover the parts of yourself you have ignored. In this tenderness, healing begins. And healing is not always loud or dramatic. Often, it is quiet, like a soft sunrise slowly illuminating the darkness that in time. You will notice that suffering sharpens your clarity. It teaches you what truly matters and what was never worth your energy. It reveals the difference between what you want and what you need. It opens your eyes to the impermanence of everything you cling to and the deep peace available when you let go. As clarity grows, so does gratitude. Gratitude not because suffering is pleasant, but because through suffering you discover your own capacity to rise, to adapt, to understand, and to love more deeply than before. Each challenge leaves a gift behind: strength, patience, compassion, wisdom. Even if the gift is small, it contributes to your awakening. The Buddha reminded us that every step on the path, even the painful ones, leads toward freedom if taken with awareness. You are not expected to be perfect. You are not expected to understand everything at once. You are simply invited to take one mindful breath, then another, one compassionate step, then another, one moment of clarity, then another, and slowly, suffering becomes not a burden but a guide, showing you where to soften, where to grow, and where to let go. In this way, you learn to radiate positive energy even in difficult times. You become someone who sees light in the midst of darkness, who can stand calmly while storms pass, who can extend kindness even when facing hardship. Your presence becomes a refuge for yourself and for others. This is the strength born from suffering. This is the wisdom that transforms pain into progress. This is the compassion that turns challenges into awakening. And this is the path the Buddha invites you to walk, not seeking a life without suffering, but discovering the freedom that comes from understanding it. When suffering becomes part of your path, you may feel as if the world is turning against you. You may wonder why challenges continue to rise, one after another, as though life is testing you beyond your limits. But the Buddha taught that life is not testing you, it is revealing you. In each moment of hardship, you are given the chance to see who you truly are beneath the layers of fear, desire, and expectation. Suffering does not come to destroy you. It comes to uncover the strength that already lives within you. There are moments when suffering feels cold and heavy, like a weight pressing on the heart. In these moments, it is easy to believe that peace has abandoned you, but peace is never far. It is simply hidden behind the noise of your thoughts and the turmoil of your emotions. When you sit quietly and return to your breath, the noise begins to soften. The emotions begin to settle, and slowly, the light of peace begins to appear again, like the moon rising through a veil of clouds. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us that suffering often expands our capacity to love and to understand others. Those who have never struggled often cannot see the pain in another's eyes. But those who have walked through darkness carry a lantern within them. They recognize sadness when they see it. They know how to comfort because they know how it feels to break. Suffering opens the heart, not to make you weaker, but to make you more human, more awake, more compassionate. Sometimes, the greatest growth happens in silence. When you are alone with your thoughts, when no one sees your tears, when you face your fears without distraction, these are the moments when transformation takes place. These are the moments when your inner strength, long hidden beneath doubt and habit, begins to rise. The Buddha taught that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to look directly at your suffering without turning away. That if you allow it, suffering can bring you closer to yourself. It invites you to explore the corners of your mind that you usually avoid. It encourages you to ask the deeper questions. Who am I beneath all these roles? What truly matters to me? What brings me peace? What causes my attachment? In this exploration, you begin to see how much of your suffering is shaped by your own expectations. expectations that life must be fair, that others must behave according to your wishes, that outcomes must match your desires. But life does not bend to expectation. Life unfolds on its own, and your suffering grows when you resist what is already happening. When you let go, just a little, the knot begins to loosen. When you let go more fully, the knot dissolves entirely. Letting go is not giving up. It is choosing not to carry what was never yours to hold. It is choosing freedom over struggle, clarity over confusion, and peace over resistance. There will be times when you feel alone in your suffering, but remember this truth: no one walks through life without pain. Even the Buddha faced sickness, loss, and the hardships of human existence. What made him awakened was not a life without difficulty, but his ability to understand difficulty deeply, to see its roots, to observe its patterns, to let it rise and fade without clinging to it. This is the path available to you as well. When you observe your suffering without fear, it begins to change shape. It becomes less like a storm and more like a message. And the message is often simple: slow down. Listen. Return to yourself. Return to your breath. Return to the present moment. When you are present, suffering loses its power because suffering lives in your resistance, not in the moment itself. In every struggle, you also receive an invitation to develop qualities that cannot grow in ease. Patience blossoms when life refuses to move at your pace. Wisdom emerges when you reflect on your mistakes. Compassion deepens when you witness the pain of others. Strength grows when you stand back up after falling. Humility comes when you understand that you cannot control everything. Let these qualities take root. They are the gifts hidden beneath suffering's surface. Do not rush your healing. Just as a seed does not become a flower overnight, you too must grow at your own pace. Some wounds need time. Some lessons need repetition. Some transformations require silence before they can take shape. Be gentle with yourself throughout this process. Speak kindly to your heart. Give yourself permission to rest. Healing is not a race. It is an unfolding. The Buddha taught that your mind becomes what you nourish. If you nourish fear, fear grows. If you nourish anger, anger grows. But if you nourish understanding, compassion, and mindfulness, these too will grow. When suffering arises, turn your attention gently toward awareness. Do not judge your feelings. Do not fight them. Simply observe them with the tenderness of someone watching waves rise and fall. In this awareness, you become the witness, not the victim. Suffering becomes lighter when you stop identifying with it. You are not your pain. You are not your fear. You are not your sadness. You are the awareness that sees these things. Like clouds passing across the sky, your emotions come and go, but the sky remains unchanged. When you recognize this, you realize that there is a space within you that suffering cannot touch. A space of pure stillness, pure clarity, pure presence. This space is your true refuge. As you continue on your path, you learn to carry suffering not with resistance, but with wisdom. You walk with a softer step. You breathe with a calmer heart. You speak with greater compassion. You act with deeper clarity. And slowly, you begin to radiate an energy that comforts others, even without words. This is the energy of someone who has transformed suffering into understanding. Your growth does not depend on avoiding pain. It depends on how gently you hold yourself through the pain, how deeply you understand its lessons, how fully you rise when the moment asks you to. When you embrace suffering as a teacher, you open the door to a profound awakening. You begin to see that suffering is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your transformation. Suffering often appears at the very moment you feel you have nothing left to give. It arrives when you are tired, when you are uncertain, when your heart is already heavy. Yet it is in these precise moments that the Buddha's wisdom becomes most powerful. He taught that suffering is not a sign of weakness, but a reminder to look inward, to pause, and to return to the truth of your own nature. When you face struggle with awareness instead of fear, You open the door to deep transformation. There are times when suffering whispers quietly and times when it shouts loudly. But in both forms, it is guiding you toward understanding. Every emotion you experience is temporary, yet each one has something to teach. When you feel lost, suffering encourages you to ask questions you would never ask in comfort. When you feel afraid, it pushes you to discover courage hidden deep within. When you feel broken, it invites you to rebuild yourself with greater strength than before. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment to desires, attachments to expectations, attachments to how things should be. When the world does not align with these inner demands, the mind becomes troubled and the heart becomes restless. But when you practice letting go, even a little, you begin to feel lighter. You begin to see that peace does not depend on the world changing. Peace depends on you releasing your grip on the world. Let go of the belief that life must always be easy. Let go of the idea that happiness can only arise when things go your way. True happiness is found in your ability to remain steady even when life is unpredictable. Like a tree rooted deeply in the earth, you can learn to bend without breaking, to sway without falling. Strength is not the absence of storms, but the ability to stand through them. When suffering comes, your first instinct may be to run from it, to distract yourself, to pretend it is not there. But suffering follows you until you face it. The Buddha advised us to sit with our discomfort, not as a punishment, but as a doorway to understanding. When you breathe into your pain, when you allow yourself to feel it without judgment, something begins to shift. The pain becomes less sharp, the fear becomes less loud, and your heart opens in ways you never thought possible. There is a quiet power in acknowledging your suffering, not dramatizing it, not hiding it, simply recognizing it with gentle awareness. When you do this, suffering loses its power to control you. It becomes an experience rather than an identity. You stop saying, "I am suffering," and begin to say, "I am experiencing suffering, and it will pass." This subtle shift in perspective creates space for healing to begin in moments of deep difficulty. Remember that you are not walking alone. Countless beings throughout history have experienced similar pains: loss, disappointment, uncertainty, heartbreak. What connects every human being is not perfection, but vulnerability. When you see your suffering as part of the shared human journey, compassion blossoms within you, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. You begin to understand that kindness is not optional. It is essential. Compassion is a powerful antidote to suffering. When you act with compassion, whether toward yourself or others, your heart softens, your fear loosens, your sense of isolation dissolves. The Buddha taught that compassion is the natural expression of a mind free from resistance. When you stop fighting your experience, compassion arises like a spring bubbling up from the earth. It nourishes you and everyone who crosses your path. Suffering also teaches you the preciousness of the present moment. When you are overwhelmed, you may feel trapped in your thoughts about the past or worried about the future. But the present moment is where peace resides. It is where life is most alive. When you return to your breath, when you feel your feet on the ground, when you listen to the sounds around you without judgment, you reconnect with reality instead of your fears. Presence is not an escape from suffering. It is the space in which suffering loses its grip. Every challenge you face strengthens your inner foundation. Like metal forged in fire, your character grows stronger each time you endure difficulty with awareness. You learn patience. You learn resilience. You learn humility. And with each lesson, you become more awake. Growth rarely feels pleasant, but it always brings clarity. It shows you what truly matters. It teaches you what you can live without. And it reveals the depth of your own courage. When life feels overwhelming, remind yourself that you are more capable than you realize. You have endured storms before, and you will endure them again. Each time, you emerge wiser and more compassionate. Each time, You discover a strength that you once believed was impossible. Trust that this strength is growing within you even now, even in this moment of suffering. The Buddha often spoke about the importance of mindfulness, not as a technique, but as a way of being fully alive in each moment. When you bring awareness to your suffering, you begin to untangle the roots of your pain. You see the stories your mind creates. You see the expectations that fuel your frustration. You see the fear beneath your anger. This awareness is not judgment, it is clarity. And clarity is the first step toward freedom. Cultivate positive energy. Do not deny your suffering. Hold it with gentleness. Speak to yourself as you would speak to a dear friend. Offer kindness instead of criticism. Create space for rest. Allow healing to unfold naturally. Positive energy is not forced. It is revealed when you stop fighting yourself. You become a source of light to others when you have learned to navigate your own darkness. People feel safe around those who have faced their suffering with honesty and have transformed it into compassion. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Your calm presence, your gentle words, your quiet strength, they become a healing force in the lives of those around you. Suffering does not come to punish you. It comes to awaken you. It comes to remind you of your capacity to grow, to love, to rise. Every time you meet suffering with awareness, you expand your understanding of life. You expand your capacity to hold joy. You expand the depth of your spirit, and slowly, without realizing it, you become someone who radiates peace not because life is easy, but because you have learned to stand fully in your humanity, with all its joy, all its pain, all its beauty, and remain open. There comes a moment on every spiritual path when a person looks at their suffering and asks, "Why must this happen to me?" The Buddha gently reminds us that this question, though natural, often leads us deeper into confusion. Instead, he invites us to ask, "What can this teach me?" When we shift from resistance to curiosity, suffering becomes a teacher rather than an enemy. It becomes a lamp that lights the next step on our journey. The truth is that suffering reveals the places within us that are still held tightly by fear. When discomfort arises, it exposes the inner knots that keep us trapped in old patterns. You might notice anger when things do not go your way, or sadness when something you depended on disappears, or fear when life becomes uncertain. These reactions are not wrong. They are signals. They show you where your heart still longs for freedom. And when you listen deeply, suffering becomes a guide pointing toward liberation. The Buddha taught that the only way out of suffering is through understanding. Without understanding, pain feels heavy and meaningless. With understanding, it becomes lighter, almost like a friend placing a hand on your shoulder, saying, "Walk with me. There is something you need to see." This is why awareness is so powerful. When you stay present with your experience instead of drowning in stories or fears, you begin to see suffering clearly, without exaggeration, without denial. Clarity makes the mind spacious, and in this space, peace arises naturally. As you walk through life, you will encounter moments that shake your foundation: loss, betrayal, disappointment, loneliness. These moments can make your heart feel fragile. But the Buddha reminds us that the heart is far stronger than we imagine. A cracked heart is not a broken heart. It is a heart that has expanded. Through suffering, your compassion grows. Through suffering, your connection to others deepens. Through suffering, you learn that love does not come from perfection, but from understanding that if you observe carefully, you will notice that suffering changes in intensity depending on how tightly you hold on. When you cling to expectations, suffering intensifies. When you cling to past memories or imagined futures, suffering deepens. But when you release your grip, even slightly, the heaviness begins to dissolve. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop demanding that life must obey your plans. It means you allow room for things to unfold naturally. Patience is one of the most powerful virtues you can cultivate during times of suffering. Spiritual growth cannot be rushed. Healing is not something you can force. When you plant a seed, you do not pull on the sprout to make it grow faster. You simply nourish it, protect it, and trust in time. In the same way, trust that your pain is guiding you to a more awakened version of yourself. Even if you cannot see the progress yet, there is a hidden strength that reveals itself only when you stop running from your suffering. When you sit still with your breath, when you face what feels uncomfortable, you begin to see that the fear itself is often more painful than the reality. The Buddha encouraged us to pay attention to the present moment because the present is rarely unbearable. What overwhelms us is the mind jumping into the past or future, imagining stories that may never happen. Bring your mind home to now, and you will find space to breathe in the heart of suffering. There is a quiet invitation to return to simplicity, to reconnect with the very basics of being alive, your breath, your body, the sensation of the ground beneath you. When life feels heavy, remind yourself to return to these simple anchors. They will hold you steady when the mind is unsteady. They will remind you that even in difficulty, there is still life, still beauty, still moments of peace waiting to be noticed. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is that joy and suffering are not separate. They are intertwined. Without suffering, you would never appreciate joy. Without darkness, light would not shine as brightly. Without challenges, you would never discover the depth of your strength. Growth requires contrast. Just as a lotus grows from the mud beneath the water, your awakening grows from the challenges you face. The mud does not ruin the lotus, it nourishes it. In the same way, your hardships nourish your wisdom. Forgiveness plays an essential role in transforming suffering. When you hold on to resentment or anger, you suffer repeatedly. But when you choose forgiveness, you release the weight that has been pressing on your heart. Forgiveness does not say that what happened was acceptable. It says that you are choosing peace over bitterness. It is a gift you give to yourself. As the Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal. You are the one who gets burned. When you allow suffering to open your heart instead of closing it, you naturally begin to radiate positive energy. This energy is not forced or artificial. It comes from the deep understanding that everything in life is impermanent, that all experiences rise and fall like waves. When you live with this understanding, you move through life with greater ease. You respond instead of react. You soften instead of harden. Your presence becomes calming to others because you are no longer battling every moment. This quiet strength becomes your true protection. Not physical walls, not emotional shields, but the wisdom that comes from knowing that suffering is temporary and that you have the inner capacity to meet it with grace. When you cultivate this inner stability, life cannot shake you as easily. You remain centered even in uncertainty, patient even in discomfort, compassionate even in pain. To transform suffering into growth, keep returning to three practices: awareness, compassion, and letting go. Awareness keeps you present, compassion keeps your heart open, and letting go frees you from unnecessary burdens. Together, they create the path to liberation. They allow suffering to become a source of awakening rather than a source of despair. And finally, remember this: you are not defined by your suffering. You are defined by how you rise from it. You have the capacity to turn your wounds into wisdom, your fears into strength, your pain into compassion. The Buddha's teachings remind you that awakening is not found in perfect circumstances. It is found in your willingness to face life as it is, with clarity, with courage, and with an open heart. And no matter what you are experiencing right now, know that it is shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. One day, you will look back and realize that the moments that once felt unbearable were actually the moments that transformed you. They were the moments that revealed your true nature: spacious, resilient, compassionate, and infinitely capable of growth. Let your suffering be your teacher. Let your heart remain open. Let your spirit continue to rise. If this message brings you value, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to support more spiritual content like this. Thank you for watching.